Hello and welcome back to the Quantum Health Connection podcast. Thanks so much for being here. We're so excited you joined us and you're following along on the podcast, hopefully enjoying and tuning into the episodes. And if you are, we really would appreciate you rating and reviewing, and especially written reviews. It really helps the podcast grow so we can reach more people and share this information with more people. I'm your host, Vanessa Bolden, with my amazing co-host, Heather Crimson. Again, thank you for being here. And today we have a really important topic to talk about. We're going to talk about the fertility crisis. And I feel like this is a very touchy subject, but I think we can handle it very delicately, Heather and I, because it's a touchy subject because I know a lot of people personally who only have children due to having fertility treatments, right? And it's kind of crazy, Heather. I mean, out of all the women I know, I'm like one of the only one that I can say who had children like conceived naturally. Like most women I know that were my age group when I was having children, well, I had children younger. I had my first child at 25, which is not typical, right? I mean, in this day and age. So maybe that helped me. I'm like, it always reminds me, like, my hormones aren't really that out of balance, Vanessa. You're doing pretty good. But many of them would have children like later in life. But all of my friends and sister-in-laws, they all struggled with fertility in some aspect, had miscarriages, which I've never had that. I was like clockwork. I was like, okay, we're getting pregnant this month, done. It was like not even an issue for me. So I was like fertile myrtle, like just never had that issue. So I can't really I've never been in that situation, right? But I think the bigger issue here is that our species overall is struggling to procreate. And what does this really mean? And what can we do to fix that? Right? This is like a scary thing because if we just continue down this path, what is going to happen? Like, are we really going to be completely infertile? Are we not going to be able to procreate anymore? It's it's kind of it's scary. It really is. And what really prompted this was that episode we did on Tylenol, and we started talking a little bit about fertility there. And I was like, let's do an episode on this because there's a lot we can do. I actually had one client who just with all the quantum and circadian stuff wound up getting pregnant. So there's a lot we can do to support our health to move this in a better direction. Um, and it's just the awareness. Like we don't have the awareness that we don't connect our light environment or the food that we're eating or the chemicals that we're exposed to whether or not we can have children or the use of non-native EMFs, right? We're not connecting these dots. And I really want to help bring this together for people to connect these dots that your fertility is tied to your mitochondria and your energy production and the environment that it's in, and a lot of safety versus not safety. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a spiritual existential crisis, Vanessa, because our primal nature, our ability to procreate and attach and create these the social fabric of our existence is everything. And I think that's when women in particular hit this wall of, I'm not able to procreate, like, what's the point of my life? I want this so badly and will go to extreme measures financially and physically and otherwise to conceive is really a tragedy. And I
Mm.
think it should make us question the whole nature of how we're actually choosing to live. And the more divorced from a more aligned with nature existence that we find ourselves in, the more difficult it is to procreate. And so there's, light being one of the main hormonal drivers. So we're going to talk about that today.
Mhm.
And light, is more than just the UV and the UVB too. Light is basically our essence, our soul, it's our connection to the all. And so this is an existential spiritual crisis. So I'm glad that we're going to cover the basics of how to support yourself hormonally, how maybe your fertility is suffering because of you're not living in a circadian manner. So there's easy fixes, but I also just don't want us to lose sight of the big picture of why is this happening in the first place. Let's not get too myopic about it, you know.
Yes. No, but it's so true. It's like to me, it's infertility is no different than why is autism on the rate on the rise? Why do children have, pans and pandas and, all kinds of anxiety and depression? And why are people getting so much autoimmune disease on the rise? Like to me, it's all one and the same. Like our environment that we are putting ourselves, we're like pushing ourselves towards extinction with the way that we're living. And it's like the technology is so advanced, right? We really ramped that up. But the more we ramp up technology, the worse our health gets. So this is kind of scary, right? And some of us are not seeing that parallel. And it's great to have like fertility treatments. We talked about this in the last podcast, and it wouldn't be my choice, but I've never really been in that situation, so I can't really say what I would do because being a mom has been one of the, the biggest, most rewarding, most purposeful, most meaningful things, and something that I wouldn't want to take away from any woman, right? Because I can't imagine my life without my children. But I also do think that I do think everything happens for a reason, and I do think this message is here to be like, let's wake up the world and be like, hello, like what's going on? Um, so yeah, so I was gonna say was is that instead of going to those treatments first, can you work on what we're going to mention first? And will that move the needle enough? Because you're going to have a healthier child if you can do it naturally, right? You're going to bring somebody into the world that's in a better, healthier state, especially the more you clean up you, the more that's going to support whatever, your offspring is going to be in a healthier state. So yeah, let's just hopefully we can help people know some really good strategies and supports to help them have children naturally.
Yeah, I mean, you're the substrate, like you're the vehicle, the vessel. So you don't want to cook in a dirty pan. This is a really crude, I know, example, but you don't want to cook in a dirty pan. You're going to create something. Let's clean yourself up. Let's look at your environmental toxins. Let's make sure that you're not polluting yourself within, just by like the food you make or what it's packaged in. All those things, the stuff you put on your body, the perfumes, the chemicals, use the dryer sheets for God's sakes, like all that crap that I just personally am just like so like over. Ugh, I get so annoyed with all that stuff. It's like, why are we poisoning ourselves on purpose? That's not a good way to go. So there's not just the light, it's the things you're using, the things you're eating, it's the quality of the food you're eating, right? It's all of these things. In addition to things like unresolved trauma that's affecting your nervous system, and so you're stuck in fight or flight mode. All of those things matter, or what medications you're taking. So we want to really try to give yourself, I would say, a year or two
Oh,
before you want to conceive, at least, depending on your level of health. The more issues you have, the longer you might need to prepare yourself
mhm.
in order to cleanse your palate, so to speak.
Yeah, it takes time. I was looking for the book and I can't remember it. I know you had a consult with him, Anthony something. He has a book about estrogen.
AJ,
Yes, AJ. Do you remember his name? I can't find the book.
yes,
Um,
AJ Consulting is his handle.
Yeah, so anyway, it's all about the estrogenation, I think it's called. But anyway, if you don't believe that all those toxins that Heather was mentioning is affecting you, if you read that book, you're like, oh my God, everything is that, although they really do affect us. I mean, there's those the amphibians that change their sex, right, based off of chemicals that were being released, the certain chemicals. So the glyphosate, the air dryers, the air fresheners, the candles that you use, I mean, I think did I tell this story in the podcast about a sweater that I had that I used to use, like, because I used to use Tide back in the day, and it like literally like 4 years later still smelled like Tide. And I was like, it literally is a forever chemical. Like we don't realize this. All of these things, the perfumes, the lotions, the bath bombs, they really do affect your hormones so greatly. And just cleaning up that could make a huge difference. The cleaning products you use, I used to use Windex and Pledge and all the no, like all of that really does make a difference. So we really want to, I just was looking for that book, but I can't find it. It's somewhere, probably over there. But we do want to just like, if you aren't aware, like what's going on here and like the statistics and the trends that have been happening is that sperm counts in men are like way down, 50% less than they used to be from the 1970s. Most women are dealing with some sort of like PCOS, endometriosis, thyroid disorders, or hormone imbalance. It's so common. Menopause is starting earlier. In fact, menses in girls happens earlier and earlier. Like they're getting their cycles earlier and earlier in young women. And obviously the rates of like fertility treatments are way high. And, I have heard like other people say like they'll go to like the fertility treatment and it's not women who are in their 40s, it's women who are in their 20s. It's young women that are here that are not able to have children. So I just wanted to bring that up because I've like that is like really, it's really it scares me. Like it does. Like I'm like, I wonder, like I think of my own children. I'm like, when they get married and they have kids and they want to procreate, like what's going to happen? Like, are they going to be able to? Are they not? Are they going to be able to? Am I going to have grandkids? Like, it's scary. Hopefully, I'm doing the good things with them now, and but I don't know who they're going to choose to marry and if they're going to be interested in the things that I'm saying and if they're going to hear me out on those things, and kind of let go of that control, but it's going to be what it's going to be. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So when things are working properly, all of our body's functions are coordinated. We're in symbiotic state with the environment. We're flowing, and we have enough voltage to procreate. So really, we look at fertility as a quantum phenomenon, an expression of our quantum coherence.
Mm,
If you're not, because I think another aspect of this is women getting so down on themselves psychologically, right? They become like, what's wrong with me? I'm defective. And it's really, really a horrible thing. Because I've had clients, right, who've suffered greatly from not being able to conceive. And then even the IVF didn't work. And then you're really in a bad way. So I
it
just,
doesn't always work. I know a
yeah.
lot of people it doesn't work for.
And I witnessed that with clients, and so it was just heartbreaking. It was absolutely, devastating, and it can end relationships too. So that's the thing is I want women to know that if you're having challenges with this, it's not your fault. Your body doesn't make mistakes. It's responding to the inputs it's been given. It's basically doing the best that it can with what is going on inside of you. So the inner ecology. So that's why we wanted to share this, is so we can help empower you to help your body so that it can, because our bodies are really phenomenally resilient and
Hmm.
very capable of healing them itself. And when you give it the right inputs.
Yeah, and it needs a balanced nervous system. It needs to feel safe. It needs to be living in the parasympathetic, not in a fear state. It needs, healthy mitochondria that can support, right, and have enough energy for, to have a child. I mean, how much of mitochondria is in the testes and the ovaries? Like so much, right? I think the highest density is in the brain, the heart, the eyes, and then the ovaries and the testes, right? They're hugely mitochondrial dense. Like we need good mitochondria to be able to sustain that. We need balanced hormones, right? We need to feel safe, not in survival mode. And I think most people are living in survival mode too, and that's a big part of the problem. But yeah, it's hard for like creation to happen, energy to flow when we're in that survival state, right? Instead of that safe, nurturing state. And it's not women's fault. It's our environment is really causing this and levels of circadian rhythm disruption that people don't even realize is impacting them. And it's just so rampant because nobody thinks that the lights they're using at night are bad for them. Like no, like it's a rarity. I think we're making traction because the people in our world, right, understand that. But then I go into the mainstream world and I'm like, oh no, keep preaching it and keep saying how the lights at night cause cancer and cause hormonal dysregulation. And it's like, I'll say these things. Like I said this to somebody at a football game the other day, another mother, and she's like, I can't ever be without sunglasses. I'm like, well, I just want to let you know, like, that's a sign that you're not really attuned to the correct light environment. And, I try to like say a little bit, I'm like, usually it has a lot to do with adrenal fatigue and things like that. I was trying to give her some insights and she's like, oh yeah, she keeps her sunglasses on. Like, it's like in one ear out the other. And it's like, because we're not, we're not just, we're just, it's so normalized that we don't think it's an issue. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's like if everyone's doing it, it can't possibly be wrong because everyone's doing it. So
What's
there's
happening
this,
to the collective?
yeah, there's kind of like it's not the right phrase, but a mob mentality. It's not the right phrase, but you get the point. It's like, well, if everyone's doing it, it has to be okay and or indicated, right? It's that's necessary.
Right.
So we're here to tell you, unfortunately, that that's not true. Like everyone used to think that cocaine was great, and they put certain drugs. I don't remember if it's cocaine or what else, but in like Coca-Cola, everyone used to think spraying kids with DDT was great.
They used
Everyone
to
used to
smoking
think,
was fine. Yeah,
huh?
smoking
Smoking
was fine.
cigarettes was great. So let's just get real here, people, and that we do need to question some of these practices. Like if you're protecting yourself against nature, Yes, sometimes that's warranted in like blaring sun and you can't drive, you're in the desert or whatever,
Yeah, of
you're in
course. But if
you're
you
in the
can't be
on
outside without
water,
sunlight,
you're on snow, okay, but if you have to wear like my dog isn't wearing sunglasses in the morning and he's fine. Why do we need to wear sunglasses? Like we're handicapping ourselves or we have become weakened.
yeah.
So, like case in point, when you were talking, Vanessa, about when we become out of balance, we lose coherence, your voltage drops. So you don't, the thing is the body has to conserve. If it's struggling to, there's a lack of energy, it's going to have to prioritize things.
Oh
So
yeah.
fertility is going to go out the window. It's like, okay, well, I guess we're not procreating because that's not, there's no energy for that. So, like, case in point, when I was in my chronic fatigue phase, which was horrendous, I thought I'm going to exercise harder and more. Well, I don't know if I was exercising a lot, but I'm going to do the kettlebells and the ropes and the circuit training or whatever it was called. And I did that. I tried so hard. It was really, really hard because I was already depleted, right? But I thought that was going to heal me. What happened was I got worse. I had to take naps. I could not get through the day. I was sleeping even worse if that were possible. And I'd be in the bathroom like crying because I'm like, I felt absolutely miserable. And my period was late. It was like 45 days. And I'm like, what's going on? As soon as I stopped, I finally dawned on me. Like it took me a while to figure it out, right? Like months. And then I finally stopped and then my period came right back. So it's like, oh, there's a case in point.
But this is that pressure. And this is what this is why my hormones got so messed up, is because of that societal pressure to look a certain way and to be a certain way. And this really gets me fired up because I'm a woman who, yes, I took birth control for years and that messed my hormones up, I'm sure, 100%, but I got pregnant really fast. And when did my hormones start to tank? Okay. It was when I lost 60 pounds very quickly, went on a low fat diet, and not saying that low fat is, not never okay. I'm just saying I was on that diet for very long, living in a low energy availability state for a very long time, started developing autoimmunity, and then when I was already in this very depleted state, then I got that medical intervention that depleted my, knocked me off my ass basically. And then what I did was is I restricted food more and more and more. I kept restricting, restricting, restricting. My body needed nourishment and safety, but I kept putting it more in this like survival state and ramping up the sympathetic dominance because I was afraid to give it carbohydrates because all carbs are bad. And then I went on the carnivore diet and I lost my period for 6 months. My body went into straight survival mode and said, you are not in your body, the environment that you're living in is not safe enough to have a child. It was in famine. It was in scarcity. It was in chronic energy depletion in all aspects. And I even developed tinnitus after that stint on carnivore as well. So it's like we really need to be nourishing and giving the body safety signals for it to heal. And it frustrates me because it's like we as women, we're like, we have to be a certain way and we just kill ourselves to look a certain way or to be a certain way. And I'm like, that just needs to end because that's not nourishing ourselves. And, we both have our own experiences with that. But yeah, I
Yeah,
just,
so the high cortisol, right? You're running on a sympathetic dominance. It's going to suppress your sex hormones. Again, the body has to make choices. I mean, just default choices, right? So, um,
it's
if
just
you're,
like when you lose your hair, like start losing your hair. It's like the
yeah,
body's like, well, hair is not important right now. Like we don't need that to live because you are really depleted and undernourished and not feeling safe. That's all you're
really
supposed
an invitation for deep nourishment, deep restoration, and reclamation of your femininity. Like women are not designed to be out hunting all the time, AKA, and people aren't going to like me to say this, but I
to.
don't really give a shit. It's like you're not meant to be hustling and busting your ass 24/7 or, up all day, working late at night, doing all the things, being a martyr. Like, stop it. Find
I'm
a way. I know you're good at that. I was never good at that. Like I never had enough, like as much to attend to. You have all the kiddos. Like I just was doing my version of that. Still, like being on the board. I'm the board president. I'm the treasurer. Like I was like I'm going to do these things, and then that's part of what precipitated me. Just too much. It was like I was doing too much. We need to rest. We need to be able to have all different kinds of nourishment. We need to have pleasure and not just sexual, but like delight and awe and joy, that kind of pleasure. that's how your body's going to feel safe. That's how you're going to be in touch with your intuition. That's going to give you whispers of what you do need in order to be coherent and have higher voltage.
I love that. I love that. The slowing down is when you can tap into your intuition is so, so true. And I lived in such hustle culture. I mean, I've said it many times in the podcast. I was literally the Energizer Bunny, up at 5 a.m. to work out, all day teaching, coming home, 3 kids, nonstop, perfect house, perfect meals, all the things, stay up all night on my phone because that was my time, and go to bed at midnight and have 5 hours of sleep and get up and do it again. And just like, who can live like that? It's like literally like you're going to eventually crash and burn. Like it's just going to happen. So, yeah, I totally can relate to all of those things. So, I think we talked about the root causes like enough. It's like definitely all of the endocrine disruptors, right? The plastics, the pesticides, the glyphosates, the fluoride, BPAs, phthalates, chemicals, all of that, artificial light, circadian disruption, nutrient depletion from foods. I mean, of course, there's soil depletion, but it's also ultra processed packaged foods that people eat, or chronic dieting, which I see a lot of women doing. A lot of women do that, or just chronic exercising, like you mentioned before, chronic stress. Of course, there's trauma, suppressed emotions, disconnected from the earth cycles, lack of sunlight, lack of being connected to the earth, being barefoot, undernourishment. We talked about that. And just, I think the use of pharma is huge in suppressing our hormones and our endocrine system and our, mitochondrial health, use of birth control, increased use of jabs. That's all gonna really play a role too. So yeah. So we really got to talk about like what we're gonna do about it. So
Yeah. Well, the first thing you need to do is fix your light environment.
a hundred
That
percent.
is really important to support your circadian rhythm, which is the main driver of your mitochondrial health and therefore your hormonal health and your voltage overall, because your mitochondria need to be in the most nourished fashion, like the most highly supported fashion, which is the rhythmic, right? Rhythmicity of your mitochondria, what they need to be doing when is all dictated by light. So if you're giving them mixed signals, if you have the light on at night when things need to be starting to go into rest and repair mode, you're basically working against yourself and you're stressing out your body. And you're giving your body those mixed signals so that it's thinking, oh, it's daytime, so I have to have more cortisol and so forth. And then your hormonal system is all out of balance.
100%. Or you have to realize that the mitochondria, they're the powerhouse of the cells, of course, but they're even more than that, right? They're just dictating everything. They're sensing the environment. They're sensing safe, not safe, right? They're sensing everything that's going on within your environment, externally, internally, right? So we really have to nourish them as best as we can. And the first way to nourish them is with optimal circadian rhythms and light, just like you said, Heather. And it's like we need to think about that. We need to think about infrared light exposure. It also really supports the mitochondria. Of course, sunlight is your best source, but you've got red light panels and sauna and firelight and things like that, which are really helpful. You want to be supportive with your nutrition, which is like making sure you're having like, your good animal protein sources, DHA, which is so important for the mitochondria, especially when you're trying to think about fertility. You really want to think about that wild seafood if you can tolerate it, hopefully. And, if you can't, I always say lamb is a good source of a meat source of DHA if that's something that you can't tolerate, but that's going to be really, really helpful. Getting connected to the earth and grounding as much as you can, getting to bed, getting dark at night. I mean, we talk about this at length on our podcasts, like so many times, but you really need to dial in those things. To me, it's like dial in all of these simple things, like the daily bright light of being outside in sunlight with the earthing, like go on a walk without your phone and be in nature, and like go to the forest and be out there and have a forest bath without your phone, like, and I mean, in a safe manner, of course, but that like do all these things and eat the good nutrition and take the junk out, right? And then what happens to your body, before you start jumping, like, 'cause I think we automatically just go to like these fertility treatments and things like that. And so these are all really good ways you can support it.
Right, it's problem solution. It's not problem, how did I get this problem? What are the different impacts on that I've been experiencing that have created this problem so that then I can reverse those, right? Let's address the root cause versus going to
Mhm.
and if somebody needs IVF and they've done all these things, then of course, you do what you need to do.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you haven't actually taken the time, and granted, like one of the things we talked about off camera is
Mm.
what is preventing people from knowing this information, accessing this information, or hearing about it? And, who knows? Maybe it's some nefarious stuff, maybe not. I don't know why this isn't common knowledge and first line.
How do people not know? Like circadian rhythms should be common knowledge for everybody for healing. Like it should be
No
like
one
the
talks about it, Vanessa. Like, no one talks
oh,
about it in
man,
schools. No one talks about it at the doctor's office. No one talks about it on TV, where people are hearing things. So
it's so
unless
bad.
you've been so sick that you happen to like stumble upon it, like we did, most people did, right? Your kids are, thank God they're learning it from you. That's the rare. I mean, it's happening more and more, but that's the exception. So, and this is just a sort of a side note, but anyway, it's really a tragedy. And like if you ask AI, how do I improve my fertility? It's not going to freaking tell you to have a healthy light environment. We should check on your chat GTP. I don't know. Maybe, but yours is already trained. So it's probably gonna say something about light. But if somebody's using it and they don't know anything about it, they're not gonna be shown that information, right?
Probably not. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Check it out, people. Let us know what happens. I would like to know what your chat GPT does when you ask about, how do you have a baby? How do you improve your fertility? Probably I mean, who knows? Maybe it would say it, but I don't think it's like regular mainstream knowledge. Like people don't think, oh, my fertility, I can't get pregnant. I got to really work on my circadian rhythms. Like nobody's thinking that. And it's like the number one thing to work on, really, because mitochondria are driven by light and they are the number one thing to support, right? In any health issue, you need to support your mitochondria. They're driven by light and dark. And then also leptin, which is our master hormone, right? Is also driven by light. Leptin is completely circadian hormone. And it's like if our leptin is out of balance, it's not only like people think of it just as a satiety hormone, but it affects the immune system. It certainly affects fertility and other hormones because it's a master hormone. It affects your reproduction. It affects so many things. So light is the hormone regulator, like we said before. And we've said many times before about how, the light enters the brain into the SCN, and then the brain, that's that master circadian clock, and it takes the clues and it knows what to do and when to do it. And it's like giving us that communication in that hypothalamus of like, when leptin is balanced, it basically tells the body like we have enough energy and nutrients to reproduce, basically, when our leptin is balanced. And like I said, leptin is greatly influenced by light. And you know, I mean, I know I've shared this before, but it's like I used to really have a lot of like strong like cravings and things and all that. Like, and it would be hard for me to like, I always thought food was kind of more of a like a willpower thing, right? Like I have to have willpower. But honestly, light kind of, I mean, it really changed that for me. Like it's very easy for me, food. It's not an issue. I mean, I'm a girl who used to hide chips in her bed, 10 years, literally. Like I used to raid the cabinets when I came home from work and like all the things. Like it was really bad. And none of that happens because my energy balance is normalized. The information that my body gets about how much stored energy it has is normalized. So I take in the right amount of energy that my body requires because the leptin is signaling appropriately. And that actually has a huge impact on our fertility as well. So
Yeah, because you're not in the cell danger response as much, because the cell danger response
yeah.
is part of the issue here, right? When we've had some experience, whether it be trauma or shock or whatever it is, or just constant barrage of stuff coming at you in the news, or just a life of stress.
I don't watch the news anymore.
Yeah, I highly recommend tuning out. But it's just because it's constantly like getting us activated and a lot of energy output in cortisol. But if you're stuck in what's called the cell danger response, when your mitochondria can't complete their processes and they're just constantly struggling, in a nutshell, that's very, I know, general explanation, but
Yeah.
um, you can't, your energy is going to be going towards that. You're just losing energy and there's a lack of safety in your body. So when you start to balance all these hormones like leptin and so forth, everything becomes balanced. And then the cell danger response can start to be quieted. And then your body can say, okay, now we have the energy in order to reproduce. So we can start, like, yes, we can start to allow that possibility to happen.
It all goes together,
Yeah.
increasing the energy in the mitochondria, getting all your master hormones back in balance, which is your cortisol, melatonin, and leptin, right? The body feels safe and nourished. It communicates appropriately. All the cell signaling is going on. The coherence is happening, right? It's like, it's ready to go, you know. That's what happens. So yeah, and you have to worry about insulin when it comes insulin and leptin. They compete for docking space in the hypothalamus. So if you have insulin issues, that's going to compete with leptin, and insulin always wins. So that's the other thing to get in balance, which should get better in balance once you start nourishing your body correctly with light and dark cycles and correct nutrition. That should come into balance as well. So that's also really important, and it also connects to the thyroid. So really
Mhm.
it's all interwebbed is what I should say. But yeah, we need to, if we want to restore leptin sensitivity and restore fertility, you have to make sure you're getting out the morning sunlight, right? Before the screens for sure, avoiding the artificial light, seeing the morning sunrise light sets the circadian rhythm, optimizes the sex hormones. We know that. We've said it many before. It actually takes your cholesterol and turns it into pregnenolone. This actually happens in the mitochondria. Again, tying it back to the mitochondria, right? The mitochondria have to have that energy to take that cholesterol and turn it into pregnenolone, which is another mother hormone. And that goes into downstream hormones. And if you're too stressed, there's that pregnenolone steal syndrome where it just funnels into cortisol and it doesn't funnel into all the rest of the other hormones that you need to make. You need to have the daily sunlight exposure, of course, UVB, UVA, all of that. No artificial light after sunset. We mention all the time about using orange or red bulbs instead, or like really dim, like incandescent bulbs if you want. From Strainless that I like, you want to have darkness at night supports melatonin, which we've said many times. If you're having light at night, you are not going to be healing and repairing. That's just how it is. All blue and green light. And then eating breakfast with a protein and fat stabilizing meal, which does help, balance that leptin for you as well. And align meals with daylight hours is like another huge tip. Like we should be eating when the sun is out, not when the sun is not. And that really helps with balancing hormones and insulin and leptin and all the things. Even those couple hours between meals helps leptin reset, 3 to 4 hours between them. Um, but yeah, light dictates leptin, and leptin dictates hormones, and hormones dictate fertility. So we definitely want to get that in balance.
Yeah, that's the connection. It's all connected, you guys. And so I would say that the emotional psychological lens through which and somatic to look at this, because like we can tell you all of the things to do, and that's really going to help move the needle significantly.
Mhm.
And that being said, if you are just kind of going through the motions, checking the boxes, and you're not really slowing down and taking the time to ask yourself, your soul, your body, do I truly feel nourished? Because the nourishment, or rather the energy of feeling nourished and that safety cue is actually going to stem primarily from deep within you around your own relationship with yourself. It stems from your relationship with yourself. Am I worthy of nourishment? Right? Am I
Oh, I
is
love that.
right, do I can I give myself permission to slow down? Can I give myself permission to spend the money to buy the nutrient dense foods, or to go to work later, whatever it is? This is going to bring up your unprocessed emotion around your self-worth. It's going to maybe hit some shame stuff. It's going to hit like unresolved relational stuff. So it's like, again, I mean, all the things we're telling you are essential to do because it's going to give you the energetic boost to be able to do those deeper inquiries. Because it
Yeah.
takes energy to explore the deeper emotional layers and getting into that, all of that
Mhm.
goodness. Because again, if we have blocks, those blocks are going to create patterns of self-defeating behaviors, right? So I think that the whole journey of fertility is really one big invitation to sort of walk yourself through, right, this self-healing process of like, how much am I actually nourishing myself? How much space do I create for myself to be able to rest, to be able to play, to be able to enjoy my life, to be able to create something, right, that I like to do? Because so many times I've heard women say, so many times, Vanessa, like, I just don't have time for that.
Oh
Or
yeah.
I have to
But-
take care of everyone else, or it's too expensive, or like, stop. That's total horseshit. You can find a way to do it.
I
You
love
can
it.
find a way to, it's not an all or nothing thing like, oh, I just can't take off for a whole week-long retreat. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 5 minutes in the morning. It's amazing the amount of resistance that we women have sometimes to doing things for ourselves. And granted, women are a lot better at self-care than men because like we're all about it, right? But how much are you really doing what you want? Yes, because some of us might need more time than others. And yes, is that, and then we're looked at as selfish. Oh, well, it must be nice that you don't have to like get up and go to work at 8 o'clock. It's like, okay, so what energy is that that you're marinating in right now? The
Some
resentment,
resentment.
yeah, the resentment, the anger, the frustration. So
Yeah.
what is this showing up in you? What is this saying about you and what choices you're making?
Mhm.
Honey, because it's all about you. So fertility is really all about you,
I
right?
love that. I
And
love it.
what
Well, it's important for the man and the woman too. They both need to be nourished.
absolutely, absolutely, but the woman has the magic to procreate, and so she needs the sperm, absolutely, and she's the vessel. And how much are you caring for that vessel in
Hmm.
order to create?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Definitely more on the woman's side for sure. And it's, we need energy to move through emotional stuff and to do that. Like that is so important, what you said before. It's like to have that capacity to move through emotional things that are going to come up as you're healing, because they are going to come up as you're healing. You need that energy, you need that connection to the earth. You need that mitochondria to be strong. You need the connection to the light. It all helps. It's like, we heal through learning to reconnect with ourselves, but it really starts with first connecting to nature, right? We first connect to nature and then we can learn to connect with ourselves more. At least I found that in my own journey for sure. So yeah, and it's all about creating safety and having optimal circadian rhythms creates safety. Having optimal nourishment and having breakfast every day creates safety. Having routines creates safety. Having food and not scarcity creates safety. Nourishment, it's all safety. Getting to bed early is safety. It's like all of it. So yeah, having clean water and having clean air and non-native EMFs and artificial light and glyphosate and fluoride, these are not safe to the body, and they give the signal to your body that something is not good for it. And the more that load, like Heather mentioned before about the cell danger response, the more that load of unsafe things is coming up in your environment, right? The more and the less energy the body has, the more that the body is not going to be in good health, right? So we need to fix that balance of, okay, I have more things that are bringing safety, less things that are not bringing safety, more energy to do what I need to do, and less things that are depleting my energy. Because basically, those are the same things. Things that deplete my energy are usually not safe. So basically, that's what the name of the game really is. And I do think, and we didn't really touch on this too much, that the increase in technology and non-native EMF frequencies is having an impact on our ability to have procreate for sure. Because it seems like something, if you look at the trends, the more that technology is increased, the less, fertile we've become. So that is something else to think about as well. And we've had episodes on non-native EMFs that we've talked about that as well to look into. So, yeah.
So it's really an opportunity for women to just reclaim, right, their own
Yeah.
basically magic. I call it magic. It's to me, it's just really quite magical, the
Mm,
ability to procreate. And so
magical.
energetic, yeah, so we're attending to the frequency of the cellular coherence and the mitochondrial basically resonance. And so any energetic modality like homeopathy, flower essences, and there's a lot of them, but
Yeah.
all of those can help the woman's body become more resonant and get back in alignment. So you're doing the circadian stuff, you're getting those inputs, then you're also getting inputs that are going to nurture you on an energetic level. So that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think of it like if you want to break it down simply, if you really, want to heal anything, right? Whether it's infertility or whatever it is, right? Chronic disease, get your light right, get your nutrition on point, drinking clean, structured, mineralized water, get connected to nature and the earth, work on things that support your nervous system, pleasure, purpose, all of that. Those are the other things, connection, community, healthy relationships, right? All of those things. And then if you're still struggling, right? Okay, there's some other like energetic, deeper imbalance going on. Move to these energetic modalities, move to things like homeopathy, move to things like biofield tuning, which I'm really liking. Move to things like flower essences, like Heather said. All of these things can be so supportive. And honestly, when it comes to all of that, I think they're all powerful, but there's something a little bit more magical about homeopathy. And it's not magical because it's not magic, but it's magical in the way that it can clear these inherited energetic miasms or blockages that we have. So you're not passing that down to your offspring, right? You're not handing them that baggage. So it can clear some of that junk out of there. And these, just they get passed down generation to generation from years and years from everybody just not taking care of their suppressed emotions or their, traumas or, the medications that they've chose to engage with, right? So we can clear up that before having children, I think is going to put your children in a much healthier state. So I wish I would have done it. If I would have known, I would have, but now they have to deal with it and now I'm doing it from their standpoint. But each generation can get healthier and healthier with use of homeopathy. I really do believe that. So if that's something that you're struggling with, if fertility is struggling with or anything you're struggling with, I would definitely recommend homeopathy because we can raise that vitality, right? And we can heal they're invisible patterns. Like you don't see them, but they are patterns within our body's memory bank and water and all the things, right? So that's what I would say. You want to break that cycle and yeah, I think homeopathy is a beautiful modality. So I'm taking new clients and would love to work with fertility clients. That'd be like amazing. So yeah, because we can bring it back. So yeah.
So this has been absolutely delightful to talk with you about. Vanessa, is such a needed area
Yeah.
of conversation and information that I hope is helpful to all of you listening. And please do share with anyone, everyone you know who could benefit from this information so they can have hope, so they
Yeah.
can have really simple, practical, and mostly free. Light is free. You just got to go outside. Strategies and turning the lights off at night is free. So starting with that foundation of light, and then you can share this with them and give them hope so they can be have agency and take action.
Yeah, they just have to know. You just have to have this knowledge. And once you have that knowledge and maybe you might need some support in learning how to actually implement it. Listen to the other podcasts that we've done. I think we talk about it so much that you could probably glean a lot of information just there too, right? So yeah, I also have a homeopathy for women's course as well, which I do go over fertility, like common remedies for infertility. It goes over all things. It goes like if you're pregnant, it also like if you've gotten to that, it goes over like, morning sickness and all the things that come up through pregnancy and then like labor, delivery, postpartum, like afterbirth, like mastitis that can come up and like postpartum depression. It goes over like all those things. So I think that would be also really awesome to have because one of the things I want to do as a homeopathic practitioner is really help empower people to know how to use these remedies and support themselves. Like that's a really big passion of mine because you can come to me too, of course, but the course might give you what you need as well. You can figure it out because I tell you the different remedies and I tell you, I how to match it to your situation because it would be individualized. There's not a remedy just for, say, postpartum depression. It has to be the right one that matches you and the totality of your symptoms. So you can also take a look at that. And of course, one-to-one work is really good to just get the whole system back in balance and, homeopathy as well, just in general. So yeah. I think that those will really be great supports. So, all right, we hope you enjoyed this episode and we'll chat with you guys on the next one.